seems, before you start, son, I got a question. Does the governor's wife have something to do with the children?
She does.
Yes.
How come? It seems sort of hypocritical that we've got a governor sitting on his tail and his wife isn't up here at least. What do y'all think?
Okay. Well, I have a very different point of view. There's a lot of things wrong with this system. I've helped many of you that are here today, many of you that are watching. I've tried to help others that are here, and am currently trying to help some of you. Keep in mind that I can't be the only one that's helping, because there's 35 state senators, and it takes 18 to pass any bill through the state senate. And there's 100 state representatives, and it takes 51 to pass any bill through the House. And then the governor has to sign it. And we passed 4 very important bills last time, and I don't get that done without their help. And so there are a lot of legislators who care a lot about these issues. And any given time, we have to be 5 or 6 places. There's a couple of committee meetings going on. I have left here. I represent 18 school districts. I had 2 of them with groups here singing that I went to listen to, and then gave tours. And so there's reasons why people are not everywhere that you would like for them to be.
Right.
That does not mean that they don't think this is an important issue. And I'm going to talk a little bit, first of all, about progress. And sometimes we don't like to hear good news, but we should, because if we don't believe there's going to be good news, then what's the point?
Right.
And so there has been good news. Our relative placement is up 50% from the time that we started our investigation in 2015.
Okay.
Bad news. And the folks at the top of DCFS very much believe in relative placement. Now, bad news is we're only up to the national average, and we're plateauing. And I think we should, that being 50% above where we are now would be low, but we've made progress there. We took 1,000 less kids this year from homes than we took the previous year. And we have to be careful, because I knew that months ago, and I was asked not to say it until the actual statistics came out, because there's people on the other side of this issue. There are people who will criticize the agency and criticize the director because they think, well, because we took 1,000 less kids, that we're not doing our job. So
But they would be wrong.
They would be wrong. There's lots of sides to this. And folks, keep in mind, since I know a lot of your cases, and I've worked to help a lot of you, if I was in your shoes, I'd feel exactly the way you feel, and I try to get that across to people. There are some people who do some very terrible things to children.
Yes, sir. We agree.
And so, unfortunately, these agencies are necessary. What has to be changed is the way they work, and the systems themselves. Relative placement, one of the things I'd like to talk about is the second case I ran into after the Stanley case was a couple that were 65 and 67. Seemed a little older 3 years ago than it does now, 58. But they came to me, they had lost their grandchildren already and really just wanted to know if I could find out where they were. I did, I couldn't tell them where they were. But their son was on drugs. Their daughter-in-law was on drugs. They were not taking care of their grandchildren. They did everything within their power individually to do something about that. Last resort, they went to the agencies, which ought to be the last resort. And they couldn't get the agencies to do anything. They finally went to the sheriff's department. The Sheriff's Department went, months later, DCFS went with them and they took the 2 children because they were being severely neglected. Not abused, but severely neglected. They needed to be taken. They never saw their grandkids again. They were placed with strangers. They were adopted out. They never saw their grandkids. I just couldn't imagine. I mean, that was my first time to come in contact with that. I just could not imagine that happening to my parents. I cannot imagine that happening to you. And those of you that it's happened to, that it is happening to, I understand how you feel. I have to keep my head on straight. I have to be pragmatic. I have to tell you all sides of this story. And I have to tell you, you know, my dad is a wonderful man, was very bad about always telling me only what I did wrong. I used to joke, we have a family business, that he only came in a couple hours a day to tell me what I did wrong. And I inherited that. I was also very bad about that, and still can be, only telling people what they did wrong. And I worked very hard at doing the opposite. Because if you don't want to tell people what they're doing right, you can't expect them to want to do well. And so sometimes people don't like it when I do compliment the agency, and I do compliment the things that they're doing well, and I compliment the governor. Because I have to tell you that those 4 bills that we passed in the last session, that without the governor's help, and I'm not just saying this to be complimentary, I'm telling you the absolute truth, that there were some battles behind the scenes that even I didn't see, that without the governor's help, those bills wouldn't have passed. I'm not going to tell you he's with me all the time. I'm not going to tell you that he's on this as much as he possibly could be. And we battle it out sometimes, but I want to tell you that's the truth. Without him, those 4 very important bills, including the one on relative placement, would not have passed. So there's another side to this story, and it's important that we know that. And you cannot imagine the scope of state government and all the things that they're already taking care of. You have to decide how important things are. It's our job to make them know how important this is and what's wrong with it.